UFC Vegas 38, aka UFC Fight Night. Thiago Santos taking on Johnny Walker as we are giving you our prelim card predictions. Welcome to another UFC prediction and analysis video by yours truly here at Boxingmmapicks. He goes by the name of Zan. I go by the name of Harris. And as usual, we're giving you our fight-by-fight breakdown, fight-by-fight analysis, specifically from the betting perspective, here to let you know which fights are worth the value, which fights you want to avoid, which underdog perhaps has the best shot at winning. And if you stick around to the end of the video, you may even get a little bit of parlay action as well. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the thumbs up on this video, hit that notification bell, and most importantly, participate in the comments. We want to hear from you. What parlays are you considering? How do you feel about our picks? Or again, if there's any specific fight that you want additional analysis on, we are more than happy to give that to you. Of course, we have 13 fights on this fight night card, Thiago Santos versus Johnny Walker being the main event. We are going to get into our prelim fights as mentioned, where we do have 7 of them. So let's get right into fight number 1. Alejandro Perez taking on Johnny Eduardo. I'm going to start with this breakdown. Alejandro Perez, it's been over 2 years since his last fight. He lost to Song Yadong at that time. A lot of head movement, a lot of upper body movement on the feet. Pretty diverse striker. You know, you get a good mix of punches and kicks. Solid striking IQ too, I'll give him that. He can definitely time his opponent. He can definitely find that counter-striking opportunity as well. He's one of those fighters that don't have any glaring weakness to his game. In terms of his striking, not really active enough for me though. So I will kind of put that against him. And I do expect him to keep things on the feet. I mean, we see his takedown average there at half a takedown per fight at only 20% accuracy. Johnny Eduardo, of course, 0 takedowns, 0% accuracy. So this is definitely going to be a fight that stays on the feet. For Johnny Eduardo, it's been a while since his last fight as well. 2018, he lost to Nathaniel Wood. Had some moments in that fight, but of course, lost that one. He is older, turning 41 years old at this point, introduced as a Muay Thai and a Jiu-Jitsu fighter. In the stand-up, you are going to see that Thai style, pretty patient striker. Again, in his own right, not the most active. Good calf kicks, good long jab, has the ability with his boxing, but he is hittable. Not the best striking defense. Again, kind of going to that traditional Muay Thai stance where not much head movement is involved. So like I said, this fight will stay on the feet. I think Eduardo may actually be slightly better on the feet, at least a little bit more dynamic. But I mean, it's sort of a rule that I have when it comes to betting. I just can't rely on a 41-year-old. Alejandro Perez is still just 32 years old. And I mean, we've seen this kind of matchup before where one guy may be a little bit better technically, but the person he's going up against is definitely game. And more importantly, has more grit, more toughness, which is going to prove to be valuable in the later rounds. I feel like Alejandro Perez is that guy with more grit, more toughness. And I feel like he is going to get it done in the later rounds. Johnny Eduardo might look good for the first 2.5 minutes, but I have Alejandro Perez winning this fight.
Yeah, I'm with you on this one, man. The age for me is a big thing with Eduardo. 41 years old. They have a common opponent. I know MMA math doesn't work, but they have a common opponent in Matthew Lopez, where Matthew Lopez was pretty much able to fold Eduardo. And Perez obviously was able to implement his game plan and finish Matthew Lopez in the second round. So they do have a common opponent, but I like Perez because of his age. He's a tough guy. This guy's going to be there for the second, third round. He has cardio. He has good enough cardio for 3 rounds. And I think at his age compared to who he's fighting, he's 32. This is supposed to be his prime or close to it while he's fighting a guy in his 40s. So yeah, I'm with you on this one, Perez. You should definitely get this done.
Sounds good. Let's move on to fight number 2. We have Stephanie Egger taking on Shanna Young. We'll talk about this one as well. Again, 2 fighters that haven't fought in a little while. Shanna Young hasn't fought since February 2020. She lost to Macy Chiasson, who of course we're going to see later on in this card. Not the most technical on the feet, definitely willing to engage. She really likes that sort of karate style side kick, decent clinch against the cage. but I'll be completely transparent. Not really much to pull from her game, to be honest. And watching several of her fights, there wasn't really too many points that I could make. Stephanie Egger, on the other hand, she last fought November 2020, so almost a year since her last fight. She lost to Tracy Cortez at that time. A judo style fighter. She looks okay in the stand up, pretty long striker, especially with her 1-2s. She likes that long Thai body kick, Thai high kick. She has that to her game as well. Pretty solid on the ground, good clinch, good judo takedowns, of course. Again, she has a black belt in judo, so she has that credentials to her name as well. And I'll keep the prediction short because this is definitely not going to be a fight that I bet on. This is definitely not going to be a fight that I encourage anyone to bet on. But I really think Egger just offers a little bit more on the feet, offers a little bit more on the ground. I'm not going to say she's clear-cut better than Shanna Young, but when I break it down and I analyze it, I'm seeing Egger pretty much checking the boxes a little bit more in every category. So simply put, I'm going with Stephanie Egger, but I'm really going against the idea of betting on this in general. For the channel, I'll pick Stephanie Egger, but I definitely won't bet on this.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one, man. This is a tough fight because for me, Shanna Young to be shows better stand-up to me. She's able to, she has better combos. I think she's just a better striker with the better footwork. So I think if this stays on the feet, I think Shanna Young's going to win this fight. But I just think Egger has a big advantage when it comes to that grappling. I'm not sold on her cardio, so that's my concern as well, especially with that type of style. But usually she finishes these girls. Once she gets them on the ground, she gets them she's really good on top. If she does that for 2 rounds, this should seal her the win, right? So I'm going to go Stephanie Egger as well, a fight I wouldn't bet as well. But I think that her grappling is going to be too much. I think she's able to tie up Shanna Young and get this to the mat and win some rounds that way, or even finish the fight.
Sounds good. Let's move on to fight number 3. We have Douglas Andrade taking on Gaetano Pirrello. And again, I will talk about this fight as well for Andrade. He lost to Lerone Murphy. That was back in January. Of course, Lerone Murphy, pretty solid prospect, so can't be too mad at that. Switch stance, style on the feet. I know it mentions orthodox there, but I definitely have seen him use the switch stance. Pretty decent on the feet, good usage of the calf kicks, good usage of the body kicks. His hands aren't maybe the most technical. Definitely looks to explode with some counterpunching opportunities. And he does have some pop too. Doesn't really offer much in the striking diversity department. And he is going to be someone that does keep it on the feet. He's never been knocked out. So that definitely either speaks to his chin or his heart. And he definitely took some good shots from Lerone Murphy. Getting up there in age a little bit though. 36 years old at this point in this bantamweight division. It usually does not take you far. For Gaetano Pirrello, he lost to Ricky Simone in January. That was his UFC debut. Pretty good, patient striker, picks the spots, solid calf kick, likes to use the Thai knees and the elbows in clinch situations. But it really is hard to know where Gaetano Pirrello is as a UFC talent. Definitely had a bad matchup in his debut, taking on Ricky Simone. I think he was filling in a last-minute slot there. His strength of schedule is questionable at best, right? Like he's faced a lot of guys with questionable records leading up to that debut. And then again, he gets, crushed by Ricky Simone. So really hard to tell where he's at this point. Andrade should be the physically stronger guy. Andrade is actually coming down from featherweight, 145 to compete in this bantamweight division. And Pirrello really just doesn't present a dominant style or an active style on the feet. And I think those are the guys that give Andrade problems. So, although he is 36 years old at this point, I'm still going to go with Andrade. He's proven that he can compete at this level. He's had some really tough fights against some really good opponents. And despite his age, if I look at him going up against Gaetano Pirrello just hasn't impressed me enough, whether it's pre-UFC footage or whether it's his first fight in the UFC, to make me think that he can really even compete at this level. So it might be just one of those where Pirrello is just not that guy. And Andrade, I think, is going to pull this one out. And I think the odds reflect that. -240 I think makes a lot of sense. So Douglas Andrade is going to be my pick.
Yeah, this could be one of those fights, man. I'm with you where it could be there could be levels to these guys, right? But I wouldn't be surprised if Gaetano Pirrello sleeps Andrade, because Andrade loves to stand up. This is gonna be a stand-up fight. Andrade could get this to the mat because he's so strong if he wants to. But this is likely gonna be a stand-up match. And Andrade is 26 wins, 4 losses. This guy knows how to win fights. He has a lot of good fighters on his record. This is a fight he should win. He's 36, so he's not that old. He's in good shape. He should put on some constant pressure. The activity, the amount of strikes landed per minute. This guy's an active striker. He knows how to win rounds. So I'm going to go Douglas Andrade to get this done based on that there's levels. But because this could be a striking fight, this could be a fireworks fight, I don't want to be involved with it as far as betting goes. Pirrello definitely can land a bomb, but Andrade has shown that he is durable. He's going down, so he's going to be the bigger guy. He should be able to tough this out and win a decision, or he may finish him, but he should at least get a decision here.
Sounds good. Let's move on to fight number 4. We have Devonte Smith taking on Jamie Mullarkey. How do you feel about this one?
Okay, when I see Mullarkey, I see a guy that is not really great anywhere. South Wales, he's not really great anywhere, but he could definitely take this to the mat. He can definitely strike with them. He can definitely wrestle with them. He has a good win against Kama Worthy. Lost to Brad Riddell, Fares Ziam, but he has shown toughness in these fights. And the Fares Ziam was pretty close. That could have gone either way. The Brad Riddell fight, he definitely showed toughness. So he's going to be a tough out here for Devonte Smith. Devonte Smith's going to have to bring his A game here. He's going to have to keep this on the feet. If this stays on the feet, Devonte is the far better striker. He should be able to hurt him on the feet. So it's a matter of which way this fight goes. Now, in my opinion, I think Devonte Smith's going to be able to do enough to keep this on the feet, because Mullarkey, again, he's not a wrestling specialist. He can wrestle, but he's not a specialist. And if this stays on the feet, Devonte Smith is a striking specialist. So I see it going that way. But again, this is a tough fight because Mullarkey definitely is game. He's shown that in his last fight versus Kama Worthy. But Kama Worthy isn't the best. I know he beat Devonte, but that was a fluke win. But he got him. But I think Devonte is a different beast here. I think he's going to be more technical. Keep this on the feet and piece him up. He may finish him here. There's a good chance he gets a knockout here. But my pick is Devonte Smith.
I'm actually going to go the other way on this. I think just to provide a little bit more commentary on each of these fighters first, Jamie Mullarkey, again, to your point, he beat Kama Worthy back in March. Moves a lot in that stand-up, moves around a lot in the stand-up, I should say. The jab is decent, good amount of head movement. The stand-up serviceable, but I think it looked improved in that Kama Worthy fight. I know he caught Worthy, and Worthy maybe a little bit overvalued in terms of the value of that victory, but his striking did look improved in that, right? Again, the wrestling, not to say he's a specialist, but I do think that he can land a takedown. He is the taller fighter at the very least, probably not the physically bigger one. But more importantly, on the other side of things, I think, as you mentioned, Devonte Smith, striking specialist, absolutely. But I don't feel like he is an overwhelming striker. And I think that's going to be something that works against him. He's a very patient striker. He throws a lot of fakes, a lot of feints, always moving the head, always giving the opponent different angles, pretty solid switch kick as well, pretty diversified in his stand-up, sneaky calf kick usage as well. But Smith definitely is the better striker, more explosive, more powerful, but I don't feel he's overwhelming. And I feel like if Mullarkey can get him to the ground, along with Mullarkey's improved stand-up, that could be potentially a formula that works for him, where he just maybe has a little bit more tools to offer. So when I'm looking at this fight, I'm in some ways looking at this as a 50-50. And
just remember, sorry. Just remember, Devonte Smith has 100% takedown defense.
Yes.
in 5 fights. Just that's why I made sure you keep going, keep going.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. Absolutely.
Keep
That's definitely something that cannot be ignored. 100%
going.
takedown accuracy and 100% takedown defense at that. But again, you know, with this fight, I look at it as almost a little bit of a trap fight in terms of thinking that it could be an easy one for Devonte Smith. I think this is going to be one of those fights where Mullarkey kind of spoils a lot of parlays. So I'm going to be cautious from that perspective. And I'm actually going to pick the underdog on this one. I'm going to go with Jamie Mullarkey. I've seen him pull out wins as an underdog before, and I think he can possibly get it done versus Devonte Smith. But that, of course, is a very dangerous pick. So I absolutely understand going in the direction of Devonte Smith. I'm just going to go on the other side of things with Jamie Mullarkey. But let's move on to fight number 5. We have Bethe Correia taking on Karol Rosa. How do you feel about this one?
Yeah, I think this could probably be I think it's gonna be Bethe Correia's last fight in the UFC. I'm not sure where she's at right now, but Karol Rosa is definitely she's gonna be the bigger girl, the more active girl, the better striker, the better grappler. Outside of a bomb, Karol Rosa should have this in the bag. So I'm gonna make my pick real fast. I'm going Karol Rosa here. She should be better everywhere, and she should be the bigger fighter on fight night.
Yeah, I'm going to keep my prediction really short as well for this fight. My very last note when I'm looking at this fight is I expect Rosa to be better everywhere in this fight. And you just mentioned that as well. It is exactly that. She is the better striker. She is better in terms of the wrestling. She's younger. Of course, we know Bethe Correia is one of the sort of pioneers of the sport. And that's not a good thing in this women's bantamweight division. That usually means that the people that you're going against are a lot more talented than you are. And Karol Rosa is one of those fighters. So I'm going to go with Karol Rosa minus 360. I'm not too mad at that. I'm looking at that as some parlay action. But I think this is potentially one of the easier fights on the card, regardless of what happens. So Karol Rosa is going to be my pick as well. We're going to move on to fight number 6, a little bit of a harder fight to call. Antonina Shevchenko taking on Casey O'Neill. For Antonina Shevchenko, of course, she is definitely not Valentina, her sister. But there are some things I like about her. You know, southpaw on the feet, Muay Thai with her stance, Muay Thai with the clinch, good underhooks, good head control, good cage work. Technically sound. Her approach in terms of her stance is very much like Valentina in some ways. She's just not as quick, not as explosive, doesn't have as much counter punching ability, but some of it looks similar. And she did show her improved ground game in the Lipsky fight, but that is Ariane Lipsky, to be fair. With Casey O'Neill, good win versus Laura Procopio back in June. She's undefeated, of course, at this point, 7-0. Good MMA striking. She trains out of Thailand, decent hands, decent kicks. She has that wrestling edge, right? You know, pretty good on top, smothers her opponents, good ground and pound, good from the bottom as well if she needs to be defensive, has a solid clinch. And even though it's only her 3rd fight in the UFC, if I'm not mistaken, or 2nd fight, she's very composed as a fighter. And I think that's going to be something that works in her advantage. But, you know, in some ways, this is a tricky fight, right? I mean, we've talked about Casey O'Neill in the past on this show. She definitely has that it factor. You know, she has the grit. She shows that she can hang at this level in that Procopio fight, because that was a really good fight. She can definitely use the wrestling to her advantage. And I think her grappling can keep up for sure. Antonina might be better on the feet, of course, training with her sister. But I feel like Antonina can be overwhelmed, and I feel like she can be taken down. And ultimately, keeping the prediction short, I think that's where Casey O'Neill will have her moments, along with her toughness, along with her composure, along with her wrestling, and along with those sort of explosive moments of, say, ground and pound. I think O'Neill's going to have more moments than not. I think she's going to be able to pull out 2 rounds. Minus 220, I'm not too mad at it. I wish it was maybe a minus 180, but I am going to go with Casey O'Neill.
Yeah, this is a tricky match. With Casey O'Neill, what I like about her, as you mentioned, her grappling. Her striking's getting there, but her grappling, I really like her grappling, getting this fight to the mat, her top game. But the thing I like the most about her is her cardio, because in her last fight, against Procopio. She might have lost that first round. But as the fight went on, it was a different fighter. Like, she kept going. Her pace was going. She had a higher pace, kept going. Second round, third round, and Procopio slowing down. So that's one thing I noticed in that fight, was that O'Neal has really good cardio. And as the fight goes on, she could put a pace on these girls, and they're slowing down. Now, Shevchenko, she has no first round knockouts. I think she's going to need to get a first round knockout here to get this win. First round finisher. I think as the fight goes on, seeing that motor that O'Neal has, if she doesn't finish O'Neal in that first round, I don't see Shevchenko doing well in the second and third. And once she gets on top, she can even get a 10-8 round in that mix. So I like Casey O'Neal here. She may have a rough first round, but as the fight goes on, I see her getting this done.
And just to add on the age factor for a bit, Antonina at this point, 36 years old, almost 37. Casey O'Neal, on the other hand, is just about to turn 24. So, definitely the youth, in addition to the cardio, in addition to the toughness, in addition to the wrestling, in addition to the grappling, in addition to the top game, gives more advantages for O'Neal outside of what we probably anticipate Shevchenko potentially doing in the first round. So I like Casey O'Neal definitely in that spot as well. We're going to move on to our final fight of the prelims. We have Joe Solecki taking on Jared Gordon. A pretty solid fight, in my opinion, with Joe Solecki, 6-fight winning streak at this point. We see his record there at 11-2. He beat Jim Miller back in April. Pretty good on the feet, good lateral movement, good crisp hands, good boxing technique, good boxing technique, I should say. Brings his hands back to his face after punching, so he is ready to cover up defensively in terms of the striking. Good takedowns, good wrestling, good positional improvements, active ground and pound. Also has a BJJ black belt, so very credentialed in terms of his ground game. Good body triangle, good chokes, things like that. Actually, 7 of his wins are via choke, 5 of them rear naked, 1 triangle, 1 guillotine. So very well versed on the ground, in addition to having some pretty solid hands as well. For Jared Gordon, he beat Danny Chavez back in February. So he's done a 2-fight win streak in his own right. Pretty patient in the stand-up, level changes, decent striking defense, diversity in the strikes, throws punches to the body, uses leg kicks, things like that. He's probably not the quickest, probably doesn't have the best movement, but the stand-up is definitely solid. And again, he has a decent ground game as well. BJJ brown belt, knowledgeable with the grappling, has decent timing on takedown attempts as well. Almost 3 takedowns a fight, right? So that is legitimate. Yes, only 39% accuracy, but nonetheless, still able to take his opponents down multiple times per fight. This is one of those fights, it's almost a little bit of a gut check here. One of those fights where I feel like Gordon is more than game. And Gordon is definitely a solid overall fighter. But I feel like Solecki may just technically be better, at least by a little bit, everywhere. A little bit better in the striking, a little bit better in the grappling, a little bit better in the wrestling. So I feel like this, and a little bit quicker on the feet as well. So I feel like this is going to be one of those fights that definitely look close and definitely is close, as the odds would indicate. But I think Solecki is just the slightly better fighter, and that's going to prove on the scorecards. I'm looking at a 29-28 unanimous across the board. So at -135, I'm going with Joe Solecki.
Yeah, I don't blame you here, man. This is a tough fight here. Jared Gordon's game. I actually think Jared Gordon has the better striking in this fight. And I think that Solecki has the better grappling, the overall grappling. The guy with the better, I'm not sure who has the better cardio. But Solecki seems like he's just one step ahead in the grappling versus Jared Gordon. And I think that's where the fight's going to play out here. I think a lot of this fight's going to be on with grappling. And I think Solecki is going to show that he's the better grappler here. I wouldn't be surprised to see a rear naked choke finish. But yeah, I see a lot of grappling in this match, and I think Joe Solecki's the better guy there. So yeah, I'm going to go Joe Solecki here to show that he's on another level when it comes to the grappling here, because I think a lot of this is going to be grappling. So yeah, that's my pick.
All right, sounds good. Let's take it to Vegas in that case. Let's see what's on the board here for the prelims, what we would potentially bet on and or just simply pick We're going to start with perhaps the underdog that you feel has the best shot at winning.
Underdog, Stephanie Egger.
All right, so that one, definitely we're going to count that as an underdog. It's showing on our current betting platform as a pick'em. Of course, we have seen that anywhere from -120 for Egger to +130 for Egger. So it is going to just sort of be dependent on which betting line you're using, but definitely we'll count that as an underdog pick, Stephanie Egger. My underdog pick is going to be, and I sort of hope I'm proven wrong because I do want to bet on him in the future, but I'm going to go with Jamie Mullarkey. And again, I'm saying I hope I'm proven wrong because Devonte Smith definitely has that it factor. So I would like to be proven wrong, but I'm going to go with Jamie Mullarkey and thinking that he potentially is the underdog with the best shot at winning on this prelim card. And then in terms of favorites, I'll go first on this one. For favorites, I'm looking at Karol Rosa, and I'm also taking a look at Joe Solecki. I like those two. It's a +122 for those two fights. So $100 will return $222. And for our bigger bettors, $250 will return $555. Which favorites are you looking at, or just picks overall?
Yeah, I'm looking at Karol Rosa, Casey O'Neill, and Alejandro Perez.
Definitely some good picks there. So those three would be a +174. $100 will return $274. And for our bigger bettors, $250 will return $685. So again, we are going to sign off there. Let us know how you feel in the comments. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, press the thumbs up, hit that notification bell as well, so you know when we come up with our prediction videos. And yeah, let's sign off, man. Let's sign off at that point. So as usual, he goes by the name of Zan. I go by the name of Harris. We are here at Boxing MMA Picks, giving you our prelim card predictions for UFC Vegas 38, aka UFC Fight Night, Thiago Santos versus Johnny Walker. And in our usual fashion, let's get this money.
Let's do it.